And it is Adam Carroll for Team Ireland, starting from pole position once again this season. Third time that they've achieved that, and Adam Carroll, the 26-year-old with experience at all levels of single-seater racing, on a roll at the moment. Alongside him, Robert Doornbos of the Netherlands. Next up, it's Portugal with Philippe Albuquerque. They had a good win at Chengdu, a second place at Sepang. Switzerland, the reigning title holders, are next up, followed by France and New Zealand. Then it's Australia for John Martin. He's seventh, ahead of Italy's Eduardo Piscopo. Malaysia and Lebanon on row 5. Row 6, South Africa versus Mexico. And then it's Brazil and India on row 7. Great Britain and Monaco on row 8. On row 9, it's USA and China. And as we get to the back, it's Sacho Hamanto on his own for Team Indonesia. The 15-lap sprint race is getting ready to get underway here. We've got a formation lap to go first of all, and Team Ireland will lead the grid away as the engine revs begin to build, and they get a practice start once again. And remember, for the first time in A1GP history, we're going to have a standing start for the sprint race.
And all the cars that are starting on the left side of the track very quickly, trying to get across to the race line on the right-hand side as they file down into turn 1.
Problem for New Zealand there, John. I think he's just managed to get it going, and he didn't drop to the back of the grid. So under the rules, he should be able to retake his grid slot.
Yeah, again, that's all about the start procedures, but the bite point of the clutch, getting it right, and you shoot off the line. Having it wrong, you'll get bogged down. And I just wonder, was that a case of Chris van der Drift getting it initially bogged down, then trying to throw the throttle? The systems on these cars, highly sophisticated electronic, and effectively they're a launch control system, and there is a procedure that you follow, and if you go away, if you go off message as it were, then you have to wait until it all gets itself reprogrammed.
So he's having to overtake cars on this formation lap, and you've got to be a little careful doing that, because the guy ahead doesn't really expect to be overtaken, does he?
Well, he wouldn't expect to be overtaken and wouldn't probably understand what's going on as Chris van der Drift makes his way through turn 9 up the inside of some of the cars further down the field now, coming up alongside Malaysia car, and then you're looking at Malaysia starting, well,
this was take a look at the start of the formation lap here.
Again, that's a replay, I think, of what happened to Robert Doornbos in Chengdu. He got bogged down in the start, and he tried to drive his way through it by throwing the throttle.
That's a replay.
Yeah, there's something clearly not right.
No, he really struggled there. And what Doornbos told us, wasn't it, after his problem in Chengdu, was the mistake he made was actually to dip the clutch again.
Yes, that's exactly what is going on.
Maybe that's exactly what he's done. So,
well, of course, a hand clutch, your finger clutch as well, not just a foot clutch.
That's right. So he's found his way back to where he should be, which is behind France. So he's back in place. So that's good news. And the great thing was he didn't drop to the absolute tail of the field. If he'd been passed by the final car, he'd have had to stay there. So that would have been a real blow to New Zealand's hopes. Now, the cars are coming through the final chicane and into that turn 14. The last few cars are actually lined up around that corner.
Yes, I mean, I noticed Marco Andretti, Team USA, at 17th position on the grid, and he, China and Indonesia are actually not on the grid proper. They're actually still in the middle of turn 14 leading on to the grid proper.
We're all set for the sprint race here in New Zealand. The Kiwi car lines up in 6th place after a bit of a scare for Chris van der Drift, as the car didn't want to get away on the formation lap, but he's in position now. Adam Carroll for Team Ireland is on pole position. Robert Doornbos is alongside in the orange colours of Team Netherlands. The engine revs begin to rise. It's a standing start in the sprint race. Away we go. Good start from Adam Carroll. Netherlands gets away well too, and the others moving away. Mexico very slow away. Chris van der Drift locks up a little bit on the inside, loses a place, does he? I think he might do, but Ireland leads.
I think he just is in 5th place. Switzerland went slightly wide in turn 1.
Oh, France slipped past New Zealand there. New Zealand's lost lots of places. Little mistake, and he's been overtaken by 3 or 4 cars.
Great Britain and Brazil have also tangled in turn 2.
New Zealand really not getting away. He did get away reasonably well, but it was down at turn 2 rather than turn 1 that he had his problem. Adam Carroll leads this race. It's Robert Doornbos for the Netherlands in 2nd, Portugal in 3rd, and Switzerland in 4th.
Yeah, I think for Chris van der Drift and New Zealand, just too anxious, too much pressure, and tried a little bit too hard. He had position 5th place coming into turn 1, but just too quick into turn 2.
So back to 2nd place battle there. The orange colours of the Netherlands up against the green and red of Team Portugal. Philippe Albuquerque keeping pretty close to the back of him, but Adam Carroll's already making a break for Team Ireland.
Yes, he's got. We can see the gap between second and third place. We can't even see. Well, there Ireland's got the best part of a second of an advantage already over Robert Dombos for the Netherlands, with Portugal, Switzerland directly behind.
Power boost figures being shown below. They have 4 power boosts to use in this short sprint race. Nobody on the power boost by the looks of things just yet. They're going to save it up perhaps for the later stages or when we get into the pit stops. Let's see where New Zealand are now. How many places did they lose? Australia 6th, Italy 7th, Malaysia 8th, New Zealand down in 9th position. Lost 3 places, and we've got a bit of a battle going on further back here. That's USA trying to make up ground, and Marco Andretti has done so. He's got past Mexico into 14th.
Yeah, good clean pass coming down a very short pit straight. So Team USA have moved themselves up now from 15th to 14th place. Here's the start.
So let's watch New Zealand in particular from the third row. It's a great start by Adam Carroll up front. New Zealand got away pretty well, and then was battling with France.
Yeah, locks his brakes coming into turn 1. There's the lock up into turn 1. Now Switzerland just to the right, plus Portugal. So New Zealand's trying to hold on to that 4th place, can't do it. Switzerland gets ahead of them, but then France back of the New Zealand car, and then into turn 2 there was that contact. There's the car that was in collision with Team GBR. That's Brazil. Dan Clark, that car, we haven't seen it yet, whether it's running again or not.
I think it is, yeah. He did come past
us.
us.
In 18th place.
Yeah, 18th position for Dan Clark. So it's Ireland continuing to lead. Anybody on the power boost yet? Not that we can see from our graphics. And down the long straight they come here. Netherlands still in second. Portugal, then Switzerland, France, Australia going well, and now can New Zealand make up any of this lost ground? He's lost a few places. Here we are riding on board with Chris van der Drift. This is where it gets tough because he's now tucked in behind Malaysia's Faraz Fauzi. They were leading the series, remember, going into the previous event at Sepang. Here comes Marco Andretti. He's the man on the charge at the moment. The next guy he's got to try and get past, though, is that of Monaco. Clivia Piccioni at the wheel, and you're on board with Marco now.
Well, I know from Marco Andretti, he's got the ability in early and opening stages of a motor race to put a pass on somebody. Now that the race is beginning to settle down, we're into, this is lap 3 we're on. So closing up to the back of that Monaco car, but it's not possible to pass down the inside. Not to say that Marco might think about it. The reality is there's no space. There's a couple of parts of the racetrack where you can do it cleanly. Otherwise, it's going to be shut your eyes and hope that the driver you're passing knows you're coming down the inside.
No, it was interesting watching him just then. He broke pretty early. There was no chance of him overtaking on the way into the corner, and he actually almost called out Mexico behind him. Salvador Duran goes right up to him. But this is where Marco now needs to plan his overtaking, because they're heading towards the main straight, which is where we catch the leader, Adam Carroll. This is the battle between France and Australia for 5th place. John Martin putting the pressure on for the Aussies here, but Loic Duval defends.
And he used power boost, but didn't get enough of a swing or a run down to get the position. France defending into turn 12, not leaving the opportunity for Australia to go down the inside. To go down the outside is the long way round, and doesn't often work.
Yeah, and there was no change further behind. USA unable to get past Monaco, so that stays the same. Monaco running 13th, USA in 14th. Mexico back there in 15th place, then Indonesia, China and Great Britain, with Brazil a lap down after that earlier incident. Bit of a slide there for Italy. Eduardo Piscopo right behind Australia. Pit stop window in the sprint race is a standard between laps 4 and 8, and we've completed 3 laps so far.
So we're on the 4th lap. Ireland got a 2-second advantage over Netherlands. Ireland's fastest race lap also.
So Ireland absolutely dominant at the moment in New Zealand. They have been throughout the practice and qualifying anyway, and so far so good. There's John Martin for Australia. Later on today he'll be qualifying even better. His grid position is even better, and he wants to just consolidate this position, I would think. He's in 6th, he's in the points. That's a good solid finish in prospect.
So pit stop window opens up at the end of lap 4 to lap 8. So it will not be very long before we get into that zone to see if anybody takes the option early to make that pit stop. We've seen Ireland and others stay out, not always coming at the earliest opportunity. That's the field of Australia.
Yeah, that's right. Malaysia and New Zealand coming through. They're still there in 8th and 9th. Lebanon is running in 10th place. Remember, points down to 8th position in the sprint race.
Interestingly, it's now Netherlands have the fastest race lap.
Yeah, I thought Robert Dombos had closed that gap a little bit. That's interesting. So Ireland lead, and Netherlands a little bit closer this time. Not hugely close. It's still a comfortable 1.5 second advantage for Team Ireland. But Dombos going quickly at the moment. You're watching Malaysia in the yellow and white colours of Faraz Fauzi, an experienced driver. Interestingly enough, Alex Young, who's done so much drive. Let's just take a look at
that's
this.
naughty. That is naughty. Squeezing China right out to the very inside of the corner, coming down. He's still got the pass done. So Kung Fu Cheng really having to up against it there with Mexico.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, actually Indonesia that was. He did get past Indonesia. and that's put China into 16th position now. So, 11 laps to go, back on board with Marco Andretti, who is still behind Monaco, and you're looking back from Monaco now. Livia Piccioni's car to the USA machine behind, and then Mexico.
And he's under investigation, Brazil and Monaco. For some reason, I assume there was a contact that occurred in turn 2 on the opening lap, as Australia now wait for John Martin. He's already had 2 shots of power boost, and he's going to be one of the first in the pits, as is Team Ireland, leader of the race.
Interesting though, Dornbos was a lot closer there, John, when they came into that last corner. Dornbos has really closed that gap. The pit stops are going to be crucial in terms of who win this. Ireland are one of the best stopping teams. They're currently running 3rd in the table of fast pit stops as we've gone through the season. Switzerland are in, number of cars coming in now. It is a tight pit lane, and most of them have agreed with their neighbours not to try and stop at the same time.
Well, the key to this race will be this pit stop for Ireland, because if Dornbos, who didn't come in, has had the opportunity with clear air to go even quicker than he was doing when he was catching Ireland. Good stop for Ireland, back out again. So unfortunately we'll not know what the situation will be until the Netherlands come in.
Good stop by Switzerland as well. What's happening here? Australia gets out in front of Malaysia.
It's all very messy,
but
3 cars.
Yeah, almost a bit slow there. I don't quite know what happened. Meanwhile, I think Switzerland made a really good pit stop then, because they were able to get quite close to the back of Adam Carroll. Great stop by Team Switzerland. They've got a full complement here this weekend of mechanics, and I think they've performed pretty well.
Well, once we see the Netherlands pit stop, we've got Ireland with about 2 seconds advantage over Switzerland. So Switzerland really is a gainer out of all these pit stops. Netherlands, are they coming in now? Yes, he is.
Yep, so this is the battle for the race win then. It's Netherlands really versus Team Ireland.
And he also had a lap in the 1:15.7 compared to the 16, so he went very quickly in that one opportunity that he had to take the lead. Now coming into the pits. Watch what happens. Ireland, a problem.
Something's come off. Is that off part of the front wing? I'm not sure.
I don't know. I can't tell. There's a bit of rubber, or whether it's something from the bodywork of the car. Something came off the right front of the Team Ireland car as the Netherlands get their car in, get the wheels on. 1:15.7 was that fast lap from Netherlands last lap round.
Here comes Ireland now. Where is Netherlands going to pull out? This is going to be, I think Netherlands could well take the lead. It's going to be a close run thing. He's crawling down the piece, slow there.
It was very slow.
And that's going to cost him time. Here comes Ireland. Ireland going to retake the lead, and actually Netherlands going to lose second.
Something happened. Whatever happened to Robert Dornbos as he came out into the pit lane itself? He slowed down. That has cost him certainly second place. Arguably, it might have cost him the lead of the race.
Interestingly, France have stayed out there. France have not come in yet. They're still pounding around. Loic Duval going for the option of staying out longer than most. So France now leads this race. New Zealand also staying out there. They're now in second place. Then you've got other non-stoppers, people like India and Great Britain. They're not really featuring in the run for the podium finishes, though. You're on board with Portugal. Portugal almost had a chance there to do something on the Netherlands, because Robert Tombos was so slow at the bottom end of the pit lane.
Now New Zealand comes in, so they're going in for the pit stop.
Yeah,
and that's at the end of lap 7.
France have stayed out there. Oh no, France are in as well. Okay, so Loic Duval and Team New Zealand both in. Now watch the New Zealand crew. This is usually a very fast stopping crew. I noticed that Australia have, I don't know what happened to Australia, something's happened to them, because they've lost right out. They're right down at the bottom of the point of the standings now.
They've got 2 laps, so there's something wrong. They may not have even.
Away goes New Zealand. Is he going to be out ahead of France? No, he's not. France is going to stay ahead. Loic Duval stays ahead of Chris van der Drift. The leaders come through, and there's third place Netherlands. It looks like France is going to rejoin in 4th. New Zealand in 5th position, if
just about gets it.
Yeah, I think so. Just managing to get out in time there to stay ahead, and Chris van der Drift will be fairly relieved about that. We'll just check that as we go through. Brazil currently now leading this race because they haven't been into the pits. And there's the problem for Australia. Diana, what can you tell us?
And yes, I am down here in the pits. He's got a broken front wishbone, but the team are not sure if he actually hit anything or what's happened as yet, but they're wheeling the car back into the garage. I mean, when he came into the pits, he was actually stopped a few garages away, so blocking the pit lane for the others, but they've managed to move it back out into the garage, and they're sort of trying to work it out now.
Thanks, Diana. Well, that's disappointing, because he was on for a decent points finish there. Now you've got a race leader there, Adam Carroll, under a bit of pressure from Switzerland. What was going on here? This was when he hit something. Well, no, not hit something, but when something broke, presumably.
Oh, he hit the curb. That's what broke it.
Presumably, yeah. hit the curb hard, didn't he?
Extremely hard, no wonder. I mean, any part of the suspension gets that type of hammering is going to suffer. Here's the camera shot here, he hits the curb and whoa!
He took our camera with him.
Dear me. Well, that's real life TV for you. Anyway, Adam Carroll leading. Brazil still leading on the road, but Adam Carroll 1 minute 15.7, Switzerland 1 minute 15.4.
The other big losers in the pit stops were Portugal. I'm not quite sure what happened, but they lost out, so they've dropped back behind Italy as well. It was Italy that was behind New Zealand when New Zealand rejoiced, so let's just run through it. It's Brazil leading, but they have just come into the stop, so effectively it's Ireland in front. Ireland leading, Switzerland, then Netherlands in third place. Let's get some news on what happened in those pit stops from Hinch in the pits.
It was pretty bizarre down here in pit lane. As you know, a very tight pit lane, and even with the teams pitting an alternate pit boxes, pulling out of the boxes proved to be very difficult. And what happened with both Netherlands and Portugal was they had to, when they first released the clutch, they had to pull it back in with fear of hitting the team in front of them. And as a result, when they dipped the clutch back in, it engaged the anti-stall, and both guys had trouble getting gear selected and getting drive back to the rear wheel. So it cost both of them a lot of time.
Thanks, James. Good, really interesting information. And that's what we've gathered now. If you do dip the clutch, it goes into anti-stall and then it crawls for a while before it sort of all recovers and resets itself.
Yes, and that's what's happened on the grid to Dornbos, and I suspect that's what happened on the dummy grid here for New Zealand as well.
So the leader is Ireland by 1.2 seconds from Switzerland. Neil Yarni running in second, Netherlands in third, then France in fourth, New Zealand in fifth. So they've gained a place. Well, in fact, New Zealand had dropped to ninth, if you remember. So New Zealand have really gained out of the pit stops. Lebanon are out of the race, and I think, Hinch, you can tell us why.
But it seems they've had some sort of suspension failure, not quite sure why. Obviously, we saw John Martin did hit something, but Daniel Morat, I don't believe he did. He just thinks it might be some sort of failure, but we'll look into it more and get back to you when we hear.
Thanks very much. Okay, right. So New Zealand, as I say, having gained back into fifth place, John, after a bit of a disastrous first lap. They lost 3. There is Daniel Morat just walking away. Disappointment for him. No chance of scoring points in this one. But New Zealand are back into 5th position, under a bit of pressure from the likes of Italy and Portugal, who are there just behind him. But Chris van der Drift might be a bit relieved as the way things have worked out.
Yes, I mean, he's got to think forward. He's got what's going on behind him. And Eduardo Pisco for Italy, who's really maybe the big gainer, started in 8th position, up to 6th of that group of midfield cars.
Yeah, he's putting the pressure on his Piscopo for Italy there, tucked in behind the Black Beauty. You're watching from the third of the 3 cars. That's Portugal, who's really lost out. As we heard, he had that problem getting away from his pit box. Behind them on Malaysia running in 8th. Then it's India 9th, South Africa 10th. And just to quickly run through the rest, it's Monaco, USA, Great Britain, Indonesia, then Brazil, China, Mexico, and then a couple of cars out. Those are Lebanon and Australia.
Philippe Albuquerque working very hard. Clearly he feels he's got a quicker car than Italy and New Zealand ahead of him, but he has to put himself into the position where he can take advantage of it. Portugal have got 2 power boosts remaining. Italy's only got 1 and 3 for New Zealand. So Chris van der Drift, in some respect, when it comes to the overtake on the straight, is the one who can maybe defend best.
New fastest lap for Switzerland. Neil Yarni closing a little bit on Ireland up front. And Switzerland have just set the fastest lap. He told us on the grid that the car was great on used tyres, and it's certainly proving to be true. He's just gone very quickly.
Still don't understand what we saw in that replay of Ireland. Something flying up in the air, whether it was a piece of rubber or whether it was a piece of bodywork from another car. It doesn't seem to be affecting the Ireland car. But clearly Neil Yarni fully recovered and putting pressure on. As we look down the inside, Portugal makes the move on Italy, and that's what he did, using power boost to do so. Yes, he did, yes. Very good move by Philippe Albuquerque, that was. Got down the inside of Italy, and now he will go chasing after Chris van der Drift and New Zealand. Meanwhile, Malaysia have seen that. Faraz Fauzi in the yellow and white car, and thinks, oh, I'll have a piece of that as well, and see if I can get past myself. These two now battling for 7th position and just inside the points, down to 8th place. 1 point on offer for 8th place. 4 laps to go, and this race is going to run down very short indeed. Chris van der Drift's got a sufficient advantage. He's got 0.2 of a second, 2.2 seconds of advantage over. Again, here's the pass, well judged pass down the inside, taking it away. In fairness to Eduardo Piscopo, he saw him coming. He could have made life much more difficult for Philippe Albuquerque. Didn't choose to do so. That's clean, fair racing from Team Italy. Beautiful timing, wasn't it? Yeah,
that was about timing, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
In terms of where to come down the inside to brake late, and Philippe Albuquerque judged that to perfection. There's your race leader, though. It is Adam Carroll for Team Ireland. And Neil Yarney, that little bit closer, but not really making any further impression on the gap. And I think Adam Carroll should be feeling fairly comfortable.
Yes, and on that last lap, in fact, Carroll had a slight quicker lap than Team Switzerland. It ebbs and flows. Right now they've done identical lap times, the gap 1.2 seconds, and I think Neil Yarney is probably going to decide to settle for that second place. Currently under investigation, Brazil and Monaco, and Brazil a second time under investigation. So what's been going on for Philippe Gomares, we have to wait and hear.
Yellow flag at turn 11 just being shown on our screen, so I don't know if someone's had a mishap up at the top end of the circuit. We're on board with Faris Fauzi. He's running in 8th place at the moment for Malaysia, on target for scoring a single point here, and then he's reasonably well up on the grid. China, that's who's caused the yellow flag.
Yes, and hopefully that's all it's going to be. We did see in practice anybody who went off that part of the racetrack, we had a red flag and getting it all wrong under braking. That was a sight very familiar to us on Friday when everybody was getting it wrong up into turn 11. The track was dirty, and Frank Cheng is sitting in the car stranded in the gravel, and it will remain there now until the race finishes. 3 laps to go. Yeah,
3 laps to go. I would imagine they should be able to keep running if you can get him out of the car, and everyone will be aware of where that car is. USA, by the way, are up to 12th place now, with Great Britain hounding them, so there's a little bit of a battle going on between Marco Andretti and Dan Clark, some way outside of the points. You're watching France come through in 4th, New Zealand there in 5th, Portugal in 6th, then Italy versus Malaysia. Behind them you've got India running in 9th, and there is the battle between USA and Great Britain. Dan Clark closing right up to the back of the United States machine.
So Dan Clark recovering from an incident on the opening lap with Team Brazil, and has recovered to run right behind Team USA, running in the 1:16.0, and actually running 0.4 of a second quicker on the last lap than the more experienced Marco Andretti.
Marco was using power boost on that main straight. Dan had already run out of power boost, but now they're both out of them, so it's even Stevens, and it definitely looks as though Dan Clark potentially has a bit more speed here than Andretti.
Well, I don't know what's going on, because Andretti's dropped by 3 seconds a lap. They're both doing 1:19 while all the cars around them are in the middle of the 16. So this is desperate defence from Team USA. They must have a problem, and he's doing everything possible to slow the pace of the Team Great Britain car, who realises suddenly there's a problem with USA, but how can I find a way past?
Let's see if we can spot anything. I can't see anything obvious, no puncture or any damage on the car, but you're right, he's definitely slowed down over the last lap or so, and Marco Andretti is struggling with a car that's not working to perfection, and Dan Clark is all over the back of that car, but he's coming up to the area now where you really need to tuck in close and pick up a slipstream.
Yes, he's got the opportunity now, getting into position behind the USA car. Both have got, Dan Clark's got no power boost left. Marco Andretti's got one, so he's on that power boost to defend his current 12th position from Team GBR. But watch Dan Clark, he's not afraid to stick the nose down the inside into a corner, but not close enough, I would have to say, fortunately.
No, that's right, not close enough at the moment. And remember, both these guys are outside the points. There's not a huge amount to gain. Maybe not worth a big lunge at this stage, but if you get a real opportunity, here's close into turn 1. Not quite close enough. That distinctive crash helmet of Dan Clark's certainly showing up well in the GBR colours, but it's the famous crash helmet colours of Marco Andretti staying ahead at the moment. There we are with the race leader, and it's the last lap already. Sprint race flying by, and Adam Carroll with a 1 second lead is in shape here, John, for his 3rd win of the season.
Yes, but it's not been a race he's been able to relax. He initially had pressure from the Netherlands, and then now from Team Switzerland. Switzerland has dropped back as they come down into turn 12 for the last time.
Adam Carroll turns into the final sequence of corners for Team Ireland, and the nation that currently leads the points is further going to extend their advantage. Adam Carroll takes his 3rd win of season 4. Neil Yarney takes 2nd for Switzerland. Switzerland's first podium in New Zealand, so they'll be pretty happy about that. The Netherlands finish in 3rd place, and let's look back now. It's going to be France in 4th, New Zealand in 5th. Good recovery for Chris van der Drift. 6th for Portugal, 7th Italy, 8th for Malaysia. Those are the point scorers, therefore just outside the points, India and South Africa, with behind them Monaco, and I think it's going to be USA. Let's just check this battle across the line. Yes, Marco Andretti will take 12th. Great Britain finish in 13th. Well, there we go. Ireland taking victory in New Zealand, and Adam Carroll absolutely faultless.
Yes, I mean, other than that one incident we had on replay where we saw something flying up which appeared to be coming from the car, it may have been something by the side of the track, but otherwise, job done, absolutely perfect. The only one thing I will say, Adam didn't get fastest lap. It went to Switzerland. Neil Yarney, who did finish second, just a second behind Team Ireland, did get that 1 point for fastest lap. But I think taking the 15 points for victory as opposed to 12 for second, plus 1 lap, gives them a net gain of 2 over Switzerland.
Yeah, and of course their nearest rivals in the points chase at the moment are Portugal, and they finished down in 6th place. Let's listen in to a bit of pits radio, what's been going on at Team Ireland.
Well done, sprinters, well done. Well done, boys, good work.
And there you heard his nickname you were telling us about, John.
Yes, the team have nicknamed Adam Carroll Princess, and that was Dave O'Neill calling him on the radio and saying congratulations. It's a term of affection, and it's the nature of the team. It's really a super team right now. Adam Carroll has done what he had to do for Team Ireland based on 2 superb qualifying results.
There's the result of the sprint race here at Taupo. Ireland win from Switzerland. The Netherlands in 3rd place ahead of France and New Zealand, with Portugal 6th, Italy 7th, and then Malaysia in 8th place. India, Naren Karthikeyan was 9th, South Africa 10th, ahead of Monaco. USA and GBR had a great battle there towards the end. Brazil were just behind Indonesia at the end of the race. Mexico 16th, China 17th, and 3 non-finishers if you include China's spin. Lebanon and Australia didn't make it to the end, but Switzerland took the point for fastest lap. So Robert Dornbos, who had that great result in Chengdu on his debut in A1GP when he finished in 2nd place in the sprint race there, so now he's backing that up with another podium finish in a sprint race. 2nd in Chengdu, 3rd here in New Zealand, and therefore he takes the bronze medal for this one. And Colin Giltrap, who's the seat holder for Team New Zealand, but also, John, very instrumental in making this event at Taupo happen.
Very much the driving force of certainly A1GP New Zealand, but very much so here in getting Taupo, getting around here in Taupo. We're now on our 3rd visit to this racetrack in the middle of the North Island of New Zealand.
But it's gold medal for Team Ireland, and the boys celebrating down there. Great effort from Adam Carroll once again, and good pit work. They managed to get him out quickly on the pits. He had no delays in the pits. There could have been nervous moments if the Dutch had a clean stop, but that's the way it goes. So the anthem plays out, and Adam Carroll, big smile on his face. Still feeling very good, this winning experience. And whilst it took Team Ireland a while to get there until he got that victory in Mexico last year, now he's getting the winning habit.